Okay, welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be taking a closer look at EnRoute 23. That's the current and latest version of the EnRoute Cad Cam software. And you can use that software with all the CNC routers, not just the Anderson Spectrum that you see behind me, but pretty much any brand, any make, any model, you can use the EnRoute Cad Cam software. Maybe you're coming from an older version of EnRoute, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now we've got EnRoute 23. We're going to do an installation video, so if you're installing it for the first time, how that works. And then we're going to show you how to transfer a lot of your old settings, your machine drivers, your tool changer, and drill bank configuration, and some of the preferences in the older version of the software and how to transfer that into the new version. So that'll be helpful whether you're upgrading to the newer version of EnRoute or if you're just upgrading your PC and needing to install EnRoute on a new computer. So once we get that installation going, then we'll take a look at some of the new key features, and if those look like they're worth upgrading for, I'm going to provide you a link in the description below this video where you can start your EnRoute subscription. And doing that with that link, it's the same price as going to the traditional homepage. It just helps me out if you do that, so really appreciate that. If you like this content and like this video, go ahead and consider subscribing and smashing that like button, and let's get started with EnRoute 23 installation. Okay, first step is going to the saicloud.com website and then log in with your credentials. Once you do that, you can click on download and download the latest version of EnRoute. In this case, it is currently the EnRoute 23. I'm downloading that right now. It's a 364 megabyte file, and then that'll show up in your downloads folder. So once this finishes up, we're going to go ahead and proceed to the next step. Okay, I've got the EnRoute installer out of the downloads area. I've got it on the desktop here, and you can just double click that, and that's going to begin the installation. Click yes, you want to make changes to your computer, and it'll pop up. First question is, what language do you want? They support a whole bunch of languages now. We're going to go ahead and click English, click next, agree, and as always, it puts it on the C drive and then has the version number afterwards. And I'm going to leave that alone. That way I can distinguish different versions. I leave a few versions back on my computer just so I can help answer questions, or if I need to go look back at something or bring something from an older version to another version. I never usually delete the versions for many years later, so I have 6, 7, and now 23 installed on my computer. So we're just going to go ahead and hit next and install. The installation's pretty quick, but we'll go ahead and speed this along a little bit. Okay, the first question that pops up during the install is, do you prefer to work in millimeters? This is not a new question. Many of the previous versions did this. I'm going to say no. And you can say yes if you do work in millimeters. Of course, you can always change that in preferences later on. Okay, then you get to the activation code. Enter your activation code. So you should be able to get this from your saicloud.com login, and I'm going to go ahead and grab that now. We're just going to hit next, and licensing was successful. So I can hit finish, and then it's going to continue along with the install. Next, it's going to ask me to select a product. So if you buy a particular product, it may not give you a choice, but you can also change this inside the software later. But we want EnRoute Complete 23. That's going to give us the access to everything, and if you are subscribed to EnRoute Complete, then that's the software that will be available for you. So we're just going to hit EnRoute Complete, and then click OK. This is new. Connect Setup. Welcome to SAI Connect Setup Wizard. Installation folder, start menu shortcuts, installing, finish. So it looks like it's just going to walk me through the rest of this. Installation folder. Okay, program files, SAI Connect, that's fine. Start menu shortcuts, that's fine. Okay, so yes, SAI Connect is a new dashboard that'll kind of organize your updates, Here's the icon right here. It's kind of its own little dashboard or program, and that will allow you to kind of manage your subscriptions, your updates, your usage, your help center, the video center, all that cool stuff. Okay, once you've put in your password and username, go ahead and log in. Once you do log in for the first time, this software is going to walk you through some first steps and tutorials. We'll go ahead and skip through some of this just for the sake of time. So very cool stuff, making all these resources available right in one spot for support, Addendo, which is kind of the training arm that's offered now for various different software programs, contact, YouTube guides, events and training calendars, really, really cool stuff. Here is a quick overview of how this works. So that's just another little new feature with the EnRoute 23 is now they've integrated a lot of these resources together and given you all of this stuff right here in one little dashboard or app. Very cool. I'm going to go ahead and close that out. And it looks like EnRoute installation is complete. Setup was completed successfully. We're going to hit next. And yeah, we'll create a desktop icon. That's cool. We'll finish. And it should pop up right there. It is, EnRoute 23. I'm going to go ahead and double click that and see if that opens up. Okay, same little warning that we're used to on the previous version. So it's good to read that. Thanks, got it. Okay, we just finished installing EnRoute 23. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do, unless this is a brand new installation for you, is you're going to want to bring in your previous settings, or at least your machine driver and your machine setup settings. So there's a couple of ways to do that. The easy way, if you want to bring all the settings available to us from the previous version of EnRoute, you're simply going to go into the Help menu here. We're going to go to Load Settings. That's going to bring up this window, and we're simply going to go and path to the version of EnRoute that we want to bring in. So if I want to bring in 6 or 7, I could do that, and then I can just hit OK, and that will bring in all the parameters and all the settings available to me, including the machine setup, which is now called driver selection. So if we go in here and we look at active drivers, it would bring in whatever possibly custom or original drivers that you had along with the settings. So if we go and we look at our spectrum and we open up, expand all, you can see the width and height are there, my Z-lift is there, how many tools I have in the tool changer, where those tool positions are. In addition to the drill bank, that's also set up specifically how my drill bank for that machine is going to be set up. So it'll save you a lot of time and energy trying to track those settings down or trying to reconfigure everything. If you want just a fresh new install without bringing in the settings, then you can leave it alone, or you can just bring in the drivers only, and there's a couple of ways to do that. But one quick thing we'll note here is if you go to, let's say we want to do a toolpath real quick. The beauty of bringing in all the settings this way through load settings and picking a previous install is that when we go to do things like a toolpath now, we're going to have all of those previous strategies I have in there. 3/4 inch acrylic without a clean pass, different things that you might have set up, ACM panels, 1/8 inch thick with a cutout, all the feeds, speeds, RPM, how many passes, everything you've set up is all going to be saved from the previous version of EnRoute, which is great. Also, things like my tool library, those will come in automatically as well. So if I go to my tool library, I can see I've got 3/16 titanium drill, 1/4 inch drill, 5/8 ball nose, 1/4 inch 90-degree cutter, 90-degree ACM fold cutter, all these different parameters and tools. A 4-inch long, 3/8 inch end mill with a 3/8 max cutting depth. Those types of things are all going to be available if you bring those in from your previous settings. So if you just wanted to bring in the driver and you want to do that manually, you can do that. And I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So if we go to EnRoute, and we're basically just in our C drive, and if I go into EnRoute 6, your drivers are stored in a folder called EnDrivers. So it's going to be right here. And then we can look that up. So we'll look for the exact spelling and configuration of the driver that you had in the machine setup or the driver selection area that we were just in. So if that was the Anderson one, we would go up into Anderson because these are alphabetical, and there's the spectrum. Now typically you're going to have two files, so I would select both these files and then right click copy, and the CNF is the configuration file, so anytime you change a setting, how the drill bank's set up, how the tool changer is set up, that's going to be all in the CNF file. The PST file, that'll be a static file. The date modified should not change because that's the post-processor file, the PST file, how the G-code is created, and that should be done one time and then left alone, and that is typically going to be done by somebody over at the EnRoute office. If you do need a special custom driver or any changes made for your specific machine, they would do that, and that would be your PST file pretty much for the length of time you own that machine. So those are the two files you would bring over. I'd go back up to here, we'd go to EnRoute 7, and then I'd simply go to the EnDriver folder and then right click and paste those two files. I already have them in here, so I'm not going to do that. But that's how you would do it. You could take those two files. You can take other files as well. If I also go back to the main folder in EnRoute, I can look for what are called INI files. Those are your configuration settings. And so if I go sort by type, and then I can scroll down to all these INI files, I can do tool library, strategies, plate library, material library, any of those INI files. If I want to do those manually, I can just copy and paste these as well from my original folder and then paste them into the newest EnRoute installation folder that you have. So those are a couple of different ways to bring in files from older versions of EnRoute into the latest version that you're installing. In this case, this is EnRoute 23. And like I said, I just tried the load settings, and that worked great for me, and that brought everything in. There's a few things that will not bring over, like your ATP setup. Okay, I simply did not have the ATP visible because of my adjusted screen size. I have a screen size adjusted for optimal screen capture on video to try to make this the easiest for you viewers to see. Anyway, I had the ATP way over on the right-hand side, could not see it, and I don't believe it's in one of these drop-downs by default, but more on that later. So for now, I just put it right here, automatic toolpath. So again, this is one of the few settings that will not transfer over from an old version of EnRoute to a new one automatically by just pressing the load EnRoute settings button. So you'll do this one manually. So just you can jot down some of the settings perhaps, take a look at your mapped names and your output options, and then just copy those into the new version of EnRoute and do that part manually. Most of the other settings will come through, and then again, this is just a one-time setup. You save your ATP file, and that'll be available next time you want to run that with EnRoute. And again, that's only for those of you that are using automatic toolpath for your cabinet design application processing. Okay, what we want to do in the rest of this video is just give you some highlights and some of my favorite new features that we find in EnRoute 23. May have mentioned this earlier, but again, if you're new to EnRoute 23 and it's a big change, we still are bringing over the emulation options. So you can go to Setup and Options under Help menu, and you can turn this back into an EnRoute 6 look and feel. You can pick EnRoute 6 Complete, or if you want a specific version, you can do Pro, Plus, Fabrication, Entry, Basic level. But this basically, if we go ahead and click on this, it changes a lot of the icons to the older icons, to the older layout, and kind of gives you that more familiar EnRoute feel. If again you've recently come from an older version and you want to as little change as possible, you can definitely go for that. We're going to go back to Standard and we're going to go back to Complete, and that gives us some of the newer icons that you're going to see in EnRoute 7. Still would function the same as EnRoute 7. Again, that's just going to be a little bit of the look and feel would be a little bit more familiar to you if you want to try to avoid as much change as possible. Okay, so moving on, one of the things we'll notice is that under Solutions, you have the Backplot built right into the program now. This has been a free program that EnRoute has always offered, but a lot of times it was hidden in the background or in your main EnRoute install folder. Now it's available right from one of the drop-downs. And this is a great file for previewing G-code. So you can go ahead and here and open this. Let's see if I can find some quick G code here. We'll choose, let's say, Island Palm, and we'll click open. And you can see that G code file there. And looks like a three-dimensional file. And if we go into step mode, then we can step our way through, and it'll actually just draw out the G code as it sits on there. And if we go all the way down, you can see it start to take shape there. Much larger on the 3D files. If we go and look for a regular file, we can just do, let's say, foam cutout. Okay. And if we take it off step mode, you can see there's the cutout, nice big bubble letters of a big piece I cut out. And if we want to step through that, then we can step through it. And you can see how that works. So this is a great tool to help, especially if you're troubleshooting, if you've got an issue or a problem and you want to try to figure out if it's the machine, is it the code, is it the software. This will help you with a lot of that basic commands. You could use it a lot of time when you're integrating new software. So if you just picked up Cabinet Vision or another cabinet design software, you can use this Backplot for that as well. It's just a great visual aid. Instead of just looking at G code, which is, you know, X's, Y's, and Z's and numbers, you actually get a full physical representation in this window here of exactly what you're cutting out. So that's pretty neat. And so we'll look at this one as well. There we go, and you can see all the letters and stuff. Go into help mode or step mode, and you'll see those letters start to take shape there. And then of course we could maneuver this and move this around a little bit. And so again, just a helpful, we can zoom out, you can see all the letters. Go backwards, forwards, you can see how that works. Okay, so that's Backplot. Okay, the next thing we're going to look at is the custom user interface. So this is new for EnRoute 23. And if we go to the help menu, we see Setup Manager. Now, in the last version of EnRoute, there was a way you could make some adjustments to your interface, but you had to use a spreadsheet or an XML editor, and so it was a little bit more advanced. This is still an advanced, user option here, but it does have its own built-in window now, so now you can do everything right here in-house inside of the EnRoute program, and this gives you almost entire full control and customizability of the EnRoute program. This is something a few customers here and there have been asking for and wanting. It's probably available in some other programs out there, but now we have it in EnRoute 23. And again, the program just continues to add new features, get better with time, listens to their customers' feedback, and like I said, we're always adding new features and new ideas. And so this one has probably been in a work in progress for quite some time, but now we can actually come in here and change toolbars, menus, adjust the shortcuts. It's just really, really amazing the kind of things you can do now and the kind of control that you can have. So you can really, instead of just having the ability to move some of these around, you can actually change all the menus, all the drop downs, add things, move them to different spots. And really, it's all about maximizing the workflow, what you're doing with your software and your machine, and kind of setting up your environment in a way where that workflow is most efficient. So again, one of the real neat new features of EnRoute 23. One thing we'll touch on now, and again, keep in mind, a lot of these new features and ideas, there are full videos that cover each and every one of these. So check out the EnRoute knowledge base, check out the cloud that we've got available with the different options, and then the new EnRoute Connect. That's going to be the SAI Connect right here. That's going to have all sorts of options for you, support, training, YouTube guides, all that stuff. So you can check all that out. But again, There's going to be lots of videos on the YouTube channel of different various options. I'm just going to give you kind of my overview of some of my favorites, things that kind of stuck out to me. And the next thing we're going to talk about is tool profiles. What does tool profiles means? Well, if I've got a custom tool that has a profile or a shape to it, in all earlier versions of EnRoute, we really could not manipulate a custom profile. I mean, we have some options. So if we go into tool library, and let's say we want to go to a new tool, you've got bullnose, conic, drill, things like that, tapered tool, and that gives you a few different options, but you're not really creating a full custom profile. Well, now that's actually available, and that's here. And the big change is going to be, instead of just making an end mill, which is normally what we do when we have a fancy, advanced custom tool, we just make an end mill, we get the diameter right, and then in EnRoute, when you're looking at a toolpath, you're just going to see a general end mill toolpath. It's just going to be a square channel roughed through your material. So the benefit of having the profile in our software is we can actually now, when we do a rendering of the toolpath, or we see how the part is going to cut, we can see that profile in the edge of the material. So that's really, really a neat advancement in the software. So how do we do that? Well, there's a couple different ways. You can draw the profile if you're a great artist, and then you save that as an ROU file, and that's how what we're gonna use to import into the profile tool when we create the tool. But oftentimes, when you go to the web, is going to have, like in this case, I just picked a plunge router bit, looks kind of like this. So you could draw that, you could, see all the dimensions that are listed here. But oftentimes, there'll be DXF files that you can just download. I've got to log in or create an account for Amana to do so, but you can do that. A lot of times you're going to see the tooling manufacturers more and more offering DXF files of the tool so you can see the drawing. So we can actually take that tool and then bring it over to EnRoute, and let's see if I can open a recent one here. So I just drew this myself, but you're going to draw the profile or break up the DXF and then put it in the lower left corner, just like this. And that's all you've got to do as far as supplying a drawing. And then we're going to go into setup tool library. We're going to say new tool. We're going to call this a profile. We're going to give it a name, and I'm just going to say custom profile tool 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I usually put the tool name in there. If it's a real tool, I'll put the part number in there, something like that, so that you can get an idea what that's going to look like. And I click OK, and then right here, I'm going to set profile by bringing in or importing that ROU file. That's just a saved EnRoute file that has the profile in there, and there it is. That's my drawn profile. If you see, this was it in the lower left. It went up like this, up like that, and boom. And it took the parameters in there from my actual drawing, so it knows what that is. That's why I can't adjust that, because it's actually taking the drawing, so it's locked in. That is setting my profile, and now I have a custom tool right here. So because the tool spins, it copies your profile on both sides, so you just have to have that drawing of half the tool basically. And I called that the AA custom profile tool. I'm going to save that. And now I'm going to actually see if we can't do new, and we'll do a, let's just do a 10 or a 12 by 12 square here, and draw a part inside. And how thick is this part? Let's see, let's call this 1 inch thick. Now I'm going to simply do a routing offset. I'm going to choose my profile tool, choose a depth, so let's say 0.3, let's do 0.5, and some feeds and speeds if I want, but I'm just going to click OK. Okay, once I have the toolpath on there, I'm going to go to machining, I'm going to go to simulate 3D. We can bump this up a little bit. Click OK. You can change your colors if you'd like. You can play it. You can turn the light ball on, and then you can see your profile right there. So again, you get a representation of the actual tool cutting into your material, what that's going to look like, where you're placing that. And that's really going to help save some time. And if you want to change your depth, or you want to go with a smaller design or a larger design, it just helps you to get an actual feel of what that part's going to look like when you use that tool at each particular depth with a real profile on there, instead of just using an end mill and then you're just guessing and you won't actually ever see a profile until you cut with that actual tool on your machine. So again, just taking it a step further, really like this new feature. Can't wait to use it out when I actually have a custom tool or a unique tool that I need to make a design with, and I can go ahead and see how that's going to work in EnRoute. But this is just a quick example that I just made up so you can see what we're talking about and how that's going to work. Okay, moving right along, we're going to get into the next feature that caught my eye, and that is the no lift option. So this is, again, brand new for EnRoute 23, and I've had this request in years past, and again, finally adding something that people are asking for, which is a regular thing that you're going to see with EnRoute, and this is the no lift option. So in a traditional sense, when you do a toolpath, you're going to cut a part out. In this case, I'm doing like inch and a half foam letters. And so I'm going to have to do this in multiple passes with a longer tool. And each time I do a pass, I would typically lift out or up above the material, then go back down. But if you're doing a whole sheet, those up and downs eventually can add up over time. So people that are doing production runs with lots of little parts, they'd say, hey, I could save a lot of time on these 100, 200 parts per sheet if I didn't have to lift up to the top of the material every time. There are some advantages to lifting up, but if you don't need that or don't want that, and your feeds and speeds are dialed in and you're not worried about the tool overheating or getting caught up with chips, then you can definitely leave that tool in the work, and every time it does a single pass and you're ready to go to the second pass, it'll just drop straight down. And that's what the no lift option is all about. But to do that, we do have to go to the preferences because it is not showing up by default. And that was the feedback we got, is that people didn't really want that available by default. You kind of have to look for it. And so if you go into setting your preferences in the help menu and you go to Toolpath, you can simply toggle that on right here. Show lift options is going to be off by default. You click on that and click OK. Now it's available. So if I go in here and I want to create a toolpath or edit my existing toolpath, I can do that. And when I come down here at the bottom below entry exit, now there's a lift option you can open up. And we can do standard lift, lift by material, so it'll come back up to the material, lift by a particular value, so you can say, hey, go a 1/4 inch above the current cut depth every time you do a pass, or we can say no lift, click OK, and that'll take all those Z lifts out of all the passes of the entire nested sheet or whatever you had selected. So now we're saving all that time of lifting up. So that's 4 times 100, that could be 400 lifts. And if the lifts take a few seconds, then we're talking about, saving some considerable time off of a whole sheet of nested parts, and then multiply that over a whole day. And it can really start to shave some time off there if that's something you're looking for. So the no lift option, again, one of the new features in EnRoute 23 that I wanted to point out. Okay, just a couple more things here I want to show you. One thing is fairly simple, but it's kind of neat. If we go into setup, driver selection, and whenever we're doing training on new machines, I'm always stressing the importance of matching your tool changer positions in physical reality with the software. Whether you're using EnRoute or Cabinet Vision or a number of other softwares, you've got to have the actual tools in the machine match with what the software believes is in the machine. Otherwise, you're going to run into problems. So oftentimes I'll have people write out a list, get a pen and paper and write that out and actually have a physical list. You can even laminate this if it's going to be tools that you're going to kind of hang around for a while and hold on to, just so everybody knows and they're on the same page. And if there's a major change, you've got to go into the software and make that adjustment to match the machine. Well, now there's a simple print tool changer button right here, and that'll actually print out the configuration of where the tools are, both in your tool changer and the drill head configuration as well. Whether you've got a straight line like this machine has or a 5x5 L-shaped, it'll print that out. That'll help a lot of times with configuring your machine for the first time, getting your software set up. So again, one of those nice little things that seems pretty simple, but I'm happy to see that on the new version of EnRoute that we can now print that tool changer configuration right from EnRoute straight to the printer. Okay, just a couple more things I'm going to show you. This one actually came out in EnRoute 7, but if you're coming from an older version or you never noticed it before, we'll go ahead and bring it up because I've had a few customers ask me about something like this. This is under the Solutions tab and it's called Library Manager. It'll ask you to close out EnRoute before you click OK. And then it'll bring up a separate box. So this is kind of a separate program, but accessed through EnRoute, if that makes sense. And so what we can do here is modify libraries, whether that's your tool library or your strategy library. You can modify them or merge them. So this is going to be helpful if you have multiple installations of EnRoute. Maybe you've got one at home or on a laptop, you've got one at the shop, one out by the machine. I've got a lot of customers with multiple versions of EnRoute installed all over the place, and they've always come to me and said, hey, we got 2 different EnRoutes running, and over time the tool libraries are different. We've got different strategies in one machine versus the other, and we don't really want to overwrite one, which is easy to do. You just copy those INI files and drag them from one installation to the other, but that just simply overwrites one for the existing one. Well, this one will actually let you modify, delete, remove, or merge, so you can pick 2 libraries and then merge them together as one library. So it's kind of a neat feature that they're allowing users to have some access to. Again, it's all about workflow, customizability, and making things work better for you as the customer and how you want to run things. So having this ability to merge and modify libraries like this is really cool. Okay, one of the last things I'll show you, and again, this is something that started in EnRoute 7 but is carried over to 23, and it has to do with the way we select things in EnRoute. So it's a really basic concept, but if you don't see it until somebody shows you, that you can go a long time without knowing how this works and what's going on here. So here's an example I wrote out here. Basically, the way EnRoute's always worked is we can drag a window and it only selects the parts if we encapsulate that part entirely. So if I just touch the parts, it's not going to select them, but if I put the bounding box or that lasso around all the parts, it'll select them. So that part is still normal, and then we can click on the parts. But if we come from the bottom, now it's a touching lasso. So anything that I barely touch will completely select. So if I just wanted those letters, like you see here, I just touched the bottom of the letters, and now I've got all of the letters picked or selected. So in a case like this where I have a lot of circles or other designs within a design, and I don't want to select those little circles, maybe I'm going to toolpath those later as a drill point or something like that. How can I select just the letters without having to physically go in here and now deselect all the different circles? The new way that we have the touch lasso or the box that just has to touch makes it really simple to drag just those letters. Now I can modify them. I can apply a toolpath just to the letters. And then if I want to grab just the holes, I can do it like that. And now I've got just the holes because I've created a box that surrounded all the holes entirely. So again, making workflow, making better use of your time, all those improvements are constantly being integrated into the software, and that's one that I just had to mention. Again, it started in EnRoute 7, but now it is the new way to select things in EnRoute, giving us just another added ability. Okay, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Hope you got something out of it. If you've got any questions or comments, feel free to leave those in the YouTube comments below. You can also email me at info@ptmachinery.net. Also, if you're wanting to upgrade your current EnRoute or start a subscription for the first time, either way, you can definitely do that using our link. That'll really help us out. And to do that, you simply can go to the web, and it's going to be thinksai.com/pro-tech. I'll have that link in the description below of the video, but you just simply click on that. That'll direct you to the subscription page for EnRoute. Now, you're going to be looking for EnRoute Complete in most cases, unless you just want a designer copy. Should do just designing. That will not create any output for a CNC. But the EnRoute Complete will work for CNC routers, lasers, plasma, water jets, all that stuff. We're going to go ahead and click on that. And then we're going to choose the product, choose the product line, then choose a plan. So you could do a free trial. It's a nice 7-day free trial. And then you've got some options. You can do the standard $123.99 is the current price, and you can cancel anytime or pause that at any time. The discounted price is $113, and that's just promising a 12-month commitment, and you can do it that way. And you can save a couple more bucks if you want to do a annual per year, and you can pay that all up front as it is. Just simply pick the one you want, hit checkout, and that'll start you off. If you don't have an SAI Cloud account, you can start one there, and you can download the software just like you saw at the beginning of this video. Again, if you do that using my link, I will give you a 1-hour consultation. We can go over any training, any product ideas that you need help with, any design ideas you need help with, or we can simply use that time to set up your machine, configure the tool changer, or work on your driver, anything like that. So again, that's just a 1-hour consultation that comes with any new subscription that somebody starts using our link. So again, any questions, let me know, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.